9 Life Lessons from Carl Jung, Jungian Philosophy. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where today we uncover 9 powerful life lessons from Carl Jung that can transform how you see yourself and the world. These timeless insights go far beyond theory. They're tools to help you grow, heal, and live with deeper authenticity. Whether you're seeking purpose, facing inner conflict, or simply want to understand yourself better, Jung's teachings offer a roadmap to self-awareness and wholeness. As you listen, ask yourself, which lesson speaks most to your journey right now? Leave a comment below to share your insight. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a moment of awakening. Let's dive in. 1. Look inside yourself first. Who looks outside? Dreams. Who looks inside? Awakens. These words from Carl Jung point to a truth often ignored in modern life. We're conditioned to seek answers, validation, and identity from the outside world through achievements, relationships, and social acceptance. But this outward focus keeps us trapped in illusion. Real clarity comes when we begin to turn inward, to question the roles we play and the masks we wear. The journey to awakening doesn't begin with doing more. It begins with becoming still. Most people live through their persona, the socially constructed mask they wear to fit in and function. It's useful, even necessary, for navigating society, but dangerous when mistaken for the whole self. Over time, many forget there's more beyond the roles they perform. The father, the employee, the leader, the artist, all these can become prisons if we never pause to ask, who am I without them? When you confuse the mask with the soul, you risk living a life that is functional, but hollow. Jung believed that true meaning comes through inner exploration. It's not enough to dream big or chase goals. Without self-awareness, all achievement becomes performance. Looking within honestly and consistently is how you discover your unique values, buried desires, hidden talents, and deepest purpose. It's in this inward gaze that you remember your essence, not the version others want, but the person you were before the world told you who to be. To begin this process, Jung encouraged practices that anchor us in ourselves. Solitude is sacred. It quiets the noise of external demands and helps us hear our inner guidance. Journaling turns vague emotions into language, giving voice to parts of the psyche that usually go unnoticed. Meditation opens a space where thoughts can rise and fall without judgment, revealing layers of truth beneath the surface. These are not just habits. They are spiritual disciplines that align us with who we are meant to become. Each time you turn inward, you shed another layer of false identity. Each moment of silence becomes an act of remembrance, and each breath taken in stillness becomes a doorway to your soul. It is in these quiet, unseen moments that transformation begins, not as a sudden epiphany, but as a deep and steady unfolding of spiritual wisdom. Inner work isn't always comfortable. It reveals pain, suppressed emotions, insecurities, and forgotten dreams. But it also brings peace, clarity, and a kind of strength that no external success can provide. It teaches you that awakening isn't about adding more. It's about peeling away the noise until all that remains is the truth. And from that truth, your real life begins. Have you taken time lately to look within? Share one inner truth you've discovered about yourself in the comments below. If you're just beginning this journey, type, "I choose to look within," to affirm your commitment. 2. Integrate your contraries. Carl Jung's insight: wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries, captures a powerful truth. Real growth comes not by rejecting parts of ourselves, but by embracing them, even the ones we've been taught to hide. In Jungian philosophy, every person carries a contrasexual archetype within: the animus, or inner masculine, in women, and the anima, or inner feminine, in men. These inner figures hold the key to balance, emotional depth, and true connection. Yet when we ignore them, we experience inner conflict, emotional repression, and disconnection from others. A woman disconnected from her animus may find herself overly dependent on external validation, hesitant to speak with authority, or afraid to assert her boundaries. But when she begins to integrate that masculine energy, she discovers a new inner clarity, the ability to lead, to protect her values, and to stand strong in her decisions without losing her natural warmth. Her relationships deepen because she's no longer shrinking to keep the peace she's showing up fully. Likewise, a man who has been taught to suppress his anima, his emotions, intuitions, and sensitivity may achieve external success, but feel emotionally numb or disconnected from the richness of life. When he begins to embrace his inner feminine, he learns to listen more openly, to express empathy, to connect from the heart rather than the ego. This doesn't make him weaker, it makes him whole. He becomes more in tune with others, more capable of love, and more grounded in who he really is. Ignoring these inner forces leads to imbalance, overly rigid men, overly passive women, and widespread relational disharmony. Integration, however, brings a dance of energies logic blended with compassion, action paired with reflection, strength guided by empathy. Gender becomes less about roles and more about energy, and spiritual wisdom teaches us that wholeness means honoring both. This isn't about rejecting masculinity or femininity. It's about understanding their deeper meaning within us, regardless of gender. Carl Jung viewed the anima and animus not as opposites to be fought, but as partners to be integrated. Through dreams, relationships, creative work, and introspection, we begin to notice how these inner forces show up sometimes as projections onto others, sometimes as powerful but suppressed traits within ourselves. The task is not to deny these energies, but to invite them into our conscious life. This is where true transformation happens, not by pretending we're already whole, but by courageously choosing to become whole. When we balance these internal opposites, we move closer to self-understanding. Our relationships improve because we're no longer demanding from others what we've rejected in ourselves. We lead with presence, love with authenticity, and live with greater psychological freedom. That's the essence of what Carl Jung meant by inner integration. A journey not just of the mind, but of the soul. If you're ready to embrace your wholeness and integrate the masculine and feminine within, comment below. I honor both sides of me. Let this be your first step toward inner balance and deeper self-understanding. 3. Analyze your dreams. Carl Jung once said, "The dream shows the inner truth, not as I conjecture it to be, but as it is." Dreams are not random illusions. They are direct messages from your unconscious mind. When the conscious ego sleeps, the hidden self begins to speak through symbols, images, and strange narratives. In dreams, our deepest fears, unresolved desires, and long-forgotten memories rise to the surface, not to scare us, but to guide us toward truth. Your dreams reveal more about your life than you might imagine. That argument you avoid, that decision you delay, the parts of yourself you don't want to face, they all find a way into your dreams. If you keep dreaming about being chased, maybe it's not just a dream. Maybe it's your unconscious begging you to stop running from something inside you. The key is learning how to listen. One of the most powerful tools for this inner listening is a dream journal. Keep it beside your bed. As soon as you wake up, write down everything you remember, no matter how strange or disjointed. Don't try to make sense of it immediately. Just record. Over time, patterns will appear. You might start noticing recurring places, symbols, or characters. Each one holds a meaning personal to you. A staircase might represent your spiritual growth. A flood might reflect emotional overwhelm. A stranger might embody a neglected part of yourself. Dream analysis is not about interpreting every symbol according to a dictionary. Jung taught that the meaning of a symbol depends on the dreamer's own life, emotions, and spiritual state. That's why reflection is essential. Ask yourself, how did this dream make me feel? What does this place or person remind me of in real life? What emotion lingers after waking? As you do this, you begin to connect dream symbols with real-world emotions, and the unconscious starts revealing exactly what you need to see. The magic lies in repetition and reflection. The more attention you give your dreams, the more they respond. They start to become clearer, more vivid, more meaningful. They begin to help you heal from buried pain, reconnect with lost parts of your soul, and move closer to wholeness. This is not just about psychology, it's a path of spiritual awakening. Every dream, no matter how bizarre, is an invitation to return to your true self. By honoring your dreams, you begin to walk in alignment with your unconscious wisdom. You move through life with more clarity and emotional balance. You stop fearing the unknown within and start embracing it as part of your sacred journey. Through this nightly mirror, the soul speaks, and when you're ready to listen, healing begins. Are you ready to unlock the hidden messages within your dreams? If so, comment below. I will remember my dreams to begin your journey into deeper self-awareness and inner healing. 4. Learn to face reality. Carl Jung's timeless insight, "What you resist persists," reveals a spiritual law that governs much of our inner suffering. The more we fight against pain, fear, or truth, the more deeply we entangle ourselves in the very energy we wish to escape. Resistance is not strength. It is avoidance dressed in fear. And while avoidance may provide short-term relief, in the long run, it magnifies our suffering. True spiritual wisdom calls us to stop running and instead face life as it is, with honesty and courage. Many of us resist reality through subtle patterns. Denial, where we pretend something isn't happening. Blame, where we project our pain onto others. Minimization, where we downplay our wounds. And avoidance, where we distract ourselves with work, pleasure, or even spiritual practices. But these tactics are illusions. They do not solve the core issue. They simply postpone it. And the longer we delay, the heavier our burden becomes. Pain that is denied does not dissolve. It sinks deeper into the psyche and expresses itself through anxiety, conflict, and self-sabotage. The first true step toward healing is acceptance. This does not mean resignation. It means seeing clearly what is, without flinching, without covering it in excuses, and without needing it to be different. Acceptance brings us into alignment with the present moment. It softens the ego's grip and opens the door to conscious transformation. Once you stop pretending, you can begin to truly feel. And once you allow yourself to feel, you can begin to truly heal. Consider how often we ignore inner warning signs. Emotional exhaustion from a job that no longer aligns with our values. The quiet pain of disconnection in a relationship that no longer nurtures our spirit, or the restless dissatisfaction that hints we are not living our truth. We often convince ourselves to push through, hoping things will change on their own. But Jungian philosophy reminds us that nothing changes until we face it. Ignoring reality does not protect us, it imprisons us. Honesty is the key that breaks the cycle. Facing the truth requires courage, but it also brings liberation. When we see things clearly, we no longer need to live in fear. We begin to understand our emotional landscape. We learn to listen to the messages behind our pain, and through that listening, we uncover our next step, one rooted in integrity and alignment. Jung's spiritual wisdom shows us that facing the truth is not a punishment. It is the beginning of freedom. Through this process, we reclaim our power from the unconscious and bring it into the light of awareness. To resist nothing is to allow everything to transform. To accept what is does not mean we approve of it. It means we're ready to grow from it. Pain has something to teach us. When we stop resisting, we start evolving. And in that sacred process, we awaken. If this message speaks to your soul, say it with me now. I choose to face the truth. I accept what is, and I grow from it. Let this be your first step toward healing and freedom. 5. Be aware of superstitions. Carl Jung once stated, "Primitive superstition lies just below the surface." Beneath our polished logic and modern worldview, we remain deeply influenced by ancient beliefs, cultural myths, and instinctive fears that have traveled through generations. These are not just odd habits or irrational reactions. They are psychological patterns shaped by the collective unconscious, the shared memory bank of all humanity. Jung saw superstition not as foolishness, but as meaningful symbols trying to speak to us from a deeper layer of the psyche. Even highly rational people are not immune. We may scoff at breaking mirrors or crossing paths with black cats, yet flinch when thunder cracks or avoid certain numbers without realizing why. These instinctive responses come from archetypes of primordial symbols deeply rooted in human experience. For example, the fear of snakes isn't solely about danger. It represents the archetype of hidden threats and survival instincts. The snake triggers a memory stored not in our personal biography, but in our ancestral wiring. Jung's insight teaches us not to reject these reactions, but to understand them and integrate them consciously. When you encounter a superstition, instead of brushing it aside, ask, "What truth does this reveal about my inner world?" A practical example can be found in modern life. Take the case of a successful woman who wears the same ring to every important business meeting. She claims it's silly, yet feels unsettled without it. That ring, while having no magical power, connects her to her grandmother's spirit, her source of emotional strength. The superstition is symbolic, not literal. It grounds her. Without it, she loses more than luck. She loses her anchor. Jung would encourage us to see the wisdom in this not to blindly obey it, but to uncover its emotional truth. Superstitions, in this light, are spiritual messengers. They reveal parts of ourselves we often overlook: our fears, attachments, memories, and unspoken beliefs. When ignored, they can quietly sabotage us from the unconscious. When acknowledged, they offer the chance for integration and growth. They are not signs of weakness. They are signposts pointing us back to our psychological and spiritual core. The goal is not to believe in them blindly, nor to mock them out of existence, but to reflect on the deeper meaning they carry. Carl Jung reminds us that the path to true self-awareness includes honoring the unseen forces that shape our choices. Cultural symbols, old fears, inherited rituals, they may seem irrational on the surface, but they are threads in the tapestry of human consciousness. Recognizing this gives us access to a deeper layer of spiritual wisdom, one that respects the psyche's language and opens us to healing, insight, and awakening. If this message opened your eyes to the hidden influence of superstition and ancestral patterns, don't let the insight fade. Leave a like, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of deep discovery. To affirm your awareness and growth, type in the comments, "I choose to understand and rise above fear." 6. Think, don't judge. Carl Jung once said, "Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge." This quote is not just a sharp observation, it's a mirror. When you catch yourself judging someone, it's often not about them at all. It's about you. Judgment is the surface symptom of an inner projection. You're not reacting to the other person's truth. You're reacting to what they unconsciously reflect back to you. That's the heart of Jungian insight. What disturbs you in others may be the very thing that's unresolved within yourself. Instead of judging, try thinking. Deep, reflective thinking. Not overthinking, not spiraling in assumptions, but thoughtful, honest observation. Most people skip this step because it requires stillness, and stillness demands presence. But presence is where spiritual awakening begins. Thinking allows you to step out of reaction mode and into awareness. When you slow down and observe rather than react, something powerful happens. You begin to see clearly, not just the other person, but your own emotional filters. Take a common moment. A coworker makes repeated mistakes on a project. Your instinct might be to call them careless or lazy. But what if, instead of judging, you paused and wondered, what might they be going through? Have I ever made mistakes under pressure or emotional stress? That shift doesn't make you weak. It makes you conscious. This isn't about making excuses for others. It's about choosing growth over ego, choosing compassion over control. This act of thinking deeply is what Jung called individuation, the path to becoming whole. Every moment of irritation, every urge to judge, is actually an opportunity to look within. That's where the real spiritual wisdom lives. You may discover that what you criticize in others' neediness, pride, weakness, is a reflection of parts of yourself you haven't fully accepted yet. And by becoming aware of that, you begin to dissolve the illusion of separation. To think rather than judge is not to suppress your feelings, but to understand them. Judgment shuts the door. Thinking opens it. Judgment projects. Thinking reflects. When you think, you create space for empathy, for truth, for healing. You stop being a prisoner of reaction and start becoming a participant in transformation. Spiritual awakening demands this kind of effort. It's not about being positive all the time or loving everyone blindly. It's about seeing clearly. And sometimes, clarity comes only when we dare to sit with discomfort long enough to ask, what is this teaching me about myself? In that question lies liberation. Not because the world changes, but because you do. If you believe in the power of thinking before judging, and you're ready to grow through empathy and self-awareness, declare it boldly in the comments. I choose to think, not judge. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a message that speaks to your soul. 7. Avoid excessive pride. Through pride, we are ever deceiving ourselves, Jung once observed, and this single truth unveils the quiet sabotage many people unknowingly carry. Pride is not always confidence. It often disguises fear. Beneath the surface of, I'm too good for that, or I don't need to try, is often a trembling voice whispering, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Pride becomes a mask, hiding vulnerability, insecurity, and the deep discomfort of being seen as imperfect. And yet, this very mask becomes the prison that stifles your growth. Think of how many times you've wanted to try something new, a career shift, a creative project, learning a new skill, but didn't. You told yourself it wasn't the right time, or that it wasn't practical, or that others would judge. But underneath all the excuses was something raw, fear of failing. Pride convinced you to avoid the risk, to protect your image, to stay where you're comfortable. But nothing truly alive grows in comfort zones. Pride seduces us with the illusion of control, but it quietly robs us of joy, depth, and spiritual expansion. Carl Jung's Spiritual Wisdom shows us that transformation requires the courage to be vulnerable. It demands that we step into the unknown, to be clumsy at first, to fall and rise again. That is real strength, not the posture of invincibility, but the willingness to begin as a beginner. Humility is not weakness. It's the quiet power that says, I may not know yet, but I'm willing to learn. This is the mindset that dismantles pride and allows true change to unfold. You grow by trying, by failing, by getting back up with a little more wisdom than before. Every step taken from humility becomes a sacred act of spiritual awakening. It's the moment you choose potential over perfection, experience over ego. When you give yourself permission to be human, you unlock the divine process of becoming whole. Pride holds you back, but humility pulls you forward always. The path of growth is not about impressing others. It's about being honest with yourself. When you let go of the need to appear flawless, you gain access to something much more powerful: authenticity, presence, and resilience. These are the qualities that expand your spirit. The challenge is simple, yet profound, and dare to try. Dare to do the thing you're afraid of. And if you fall, let that be your initiation into strength. Spiritual wisdom teaches that the soul does not grow by pretending to be perfect. It grows by showing up again and again with sincerity and courage. So do not let pride whisper you out of your purpose. Let humility lead you into the life that's waiting for you on the other side of fear. If this message touched your heart, let go of pride and embrace growth. Comment below with faith. I choose humility. I am open to learning, growing, and becoming my best self. 8. Be eager to grow older. Carl Jung once said, Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research. This wasn't just poetic reflection. It came from personal experience. Jung's most profound psychological insights didn't emerge during his youth, but blossomed around the age of 40, after a series of personal and professional breakdowns. Rather than resisting this period of unraveling, he allowed it to transform him. That transformation became the fertile ground where concepts like the shadow, the self, and individuation began to take form. It was in the quiet maturity of midlife, not the noise of early ambition, that his spiritual wisdom deepened and took root. Before the age of 40, most people are busy chasing validation. We follow the path laid out by others, parents, teachers, social norms, absorbing expectations without questioning if they align with our true selves. We accumulate degrees, jobs, and relationships like checkboxes on someone else's blueprint. But something shifts around midlife. The external chase no longer satisfies, and the call from within becomes harder to ignore. That inner pull is not a crisis. It's clarity emerging from beneath the surface. This transition happens everywhere, in ordinary lives with extraordinary meaning. Take the example of a woman named Sarah. In her 30s, she was a rising star in a corporate firm, with all the visible signs of success, status, wealth, recognition. But her days felt hollow. At 42, she walked away from it all and started a wellness practice rooted in mindfulness and helping others. For the first time, she said, "I feel like I'm living in alignment with who I really am." Her story echoes Jung's wisdom. We spend the first half of life gathering the tools, and the second half discovering how to use them for our own truth. That's why your earlier years are not to be wasted or regretted. They are the necessary terrain where you explore, stumble, grow, and build a foundation. These decades teach you discipline, resilience, and perspective. They are not the peak, they are the preparation. And when the middle of life arrives, it's not a sign of fading, it's an awakening. You begin to shift from imitation to intention, from survival to creation. Carl Jung believed that midlife is where individuality begins to truly unfold. It's a stage where courage replaces conformity, where independence is not rebellion, but realization. You stop asking, "What should I be?" and start asking, "What was I meant to become?" The second act of life, if embraced with awareness, becomes a journey of return, not to youth, but to essence. Growing older is not a loss, it is a homecoming. With each year, you shed roles that no longer fit and beliefs that no longer serve. What emerges is not a perfect person, but an authentic one. A person who is finally ready to walk the path they were always meant to take. If you're still with us and embracing the beauty of growing wiser with time, comment below. I welcome every chapter of life. Your voice helps us grow together, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more spiritual wisdom. 9. Tell your story. Carl Jung once said, "The reason for evil in the world is that people are not able to tell their stories." Beneath this simple quote lies a deep truth. When people are silenced, when their pain, dreams, and memories go unspoken, they begin to lose themselves. Their inner world becomes a chaos of suppressed emotions and unmet truths, and that unresolved energy often spills out as fear, anger, or projection. But when you give yourself permission to speak, to write, to remember, something sacred begins to happen. You don't just recall events, you begin to understand them. You shine a light into the corners of your unconscious, and that's when healing begins. This is individuation in motion, the heart of Jung's spiritual philosophy. Telling your story isn't about being perfect or poetic. It's about being honest. Your story is not just made up of facts. It includes your dreams, your strange thoughts, the symbols that keep showing up in your life, and the ways you've made sense of everything you've been through. When you speak these things out loud or write them down, you are giving form to the formless. You are creating a bridge between the conscious and unconscious parts of yourself. You are making meaning out of mystery, and this is where spiritual awakening begins. Every person carries what Jung called a personal myth, a symbolic narrative that gives their life meaning beyond the surface. This myth is not created by society. It's discovered within. When you explore the recurring patterns in your life, the archetypes that appear in your dreams, the moments that broke you, and the ones that built you, you start to see the deeper storyline behind your existence. That's your myth. And when you live it with awareness, you begin to walk in alignment with your soul's purpose. The act of telling your story is not just therapeutic, it's transformational. It brings clarity to your mind, connection to your heart, and alignment to your spirit. In the chaos of modern life, it's easy to lose yourself in roles, expectations, and external noise. But when you pause to reflect and speak your truth, you reclaim your identity. You stop being a passive character in someone else's script and start becoming the conscious author of your own life. This is what it means to awaken spiritually, not just to believe in higher truths, but to embody them through the truth of your own experience. So write, speak, share, not for validation, but for liberation. Your story matters, not because it's dramatic or unique, but because it's yours. And when you honor it, you honor the soul within. If this message resonates with you, it's time to honor your voice. Your story matters. It holds power, healing, and truth. Comment below. I will tell my story to affirm your commitment to self-awareness and inspire others to share their truth as well. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the timeless wisdom of Carl Jung. His teachings remind us that the path to wholeness begins with courage to face our shadow, embrace our inner truth, and live authentically from the inside out. If today's video inspired you or gave you a fresh insight, don't keep it to yourself. Let it ripple outward. Please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs this message, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos that dive deeper into the soul, the psyche, and the spirit. Until next time, stay aware, stay open, and keep walking your path with wisdom. The meaning of your blood type will change your entire life. As Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Have you ever wondered if something as simple and biological as your blood type could reveal deep truths about your personality, energy, and even your destiny? In today's episode on Spiritual Wisdom, we explore how ancient and modern insights, combined with Jungian psychology, shed light on the hidden meaning of your blood type. You'll never see yourself the same way again. So, before we begin, I invite you to comment below. Have you ever felt your personality didn't quite match what others expected from you? Let's dive deeper into the wisdom written in your very blood. 1. Jung's psychology meets Japanese blood type theory. Jung's concept of archetypes reveals the hidden structures within the human psyche universal roles, like the hero, the sage, the rebel, and the caregiver. These timeless patterns are not just symbols in stories or myths. They live in our unconscious and shape our behavior, emotions, and life choices. Jung believed that by becoming aware of the archetypes operating within us, we begin the journey of individuation, the process of becoming whole and spiritually awakened. This isn't simply about self-knowledge. It's about soul integration. It's about realizing that who you think you are is only a fragment of your fuller, divine self. Meanwhile, in Japanese culture, the Ketsueki-gata theory assigns deep personality meaning to something most people overlook: blood type. According to this system, people with blood type A tend to be organized, cautious, and thoughtful. Type B individuals are creative, curious, and expressive. Type AB people combine logic and intuition, often feeling like they live between two worlds. And those with type O blood are bold, competitive, and natural-born leaders. Though not scientifically proven, this belief is woven into daily life in Japan, from matchmaking to workplace dynamics, suggesting that blood may carry more than just biological data. It may carry archetypal energy. Now imagine what happens when we combine these two frameworks. When the structure of Jung's archetypes intersects with the essence of your blood type, something profound emerges, a spiritual code that not only reflects who you are, but who you are becoming. A type A person who carries the caregiver archetype may struggle with suppressed rage or unmet needs if their inner rebel is ignored. A type O person, aligned with the warrior archetype, may find success and power, but if they never access their inner sage, they risk burnout and emptiness. A type AB person might embody the magician, intuitive, complex, and insightful, but without grounding, they may feel isolated in their wisdom. These combinations are not random. They offer spiritual wisdom by revealing your soul's tendencies and your karmic patterns. They show you where you flow and where you resist, what energizes you and what drains you. The archetype shows you your path. The blood type shows you the lens. Together, they form a personal mythology, a blueprint of your essence and evolution. When used consciously, this fusion becomes a tool for awakening, healing, and deep self-acceptance. It invites you to integrate all parts of yourself, not just the image you present to the world, but the shadows, the instincts, and the divine spark you carry within. This is not about reducing your identity to a label. It is about listening to the subtle language of your being. Jung taught that what remains unconscious rules us from within. By making your inner structures conscious, you claim your story. Your blood may carry the physical inheritance of your ancestors, but it also carries archetypal echoes, whispers of what you were born to remember. The journey is not outward, but inward. The path to truth is paved with symbols, energies, and self-recognition. This union of Jung's psychology and the Japanese blood type theory is not coincidence. It is a mirror through which your soul can finally see itself. If today's insight sparked something within you, share your thoughts below, or simply comment, "I embrace my archetype," to affirm your journey of self-discovery through Jung's wisdom and the Japanese blood type theory. Let's explore our true nature together. I'd love to hear what resonated with you most. 2. Blood as a hidden code to the inner self. Your blood may be more than a biological fact. It could be a spiritual blueprint, a coded message from the unconscious. Carl Jung, the pioneer of analytical psychology, believed that the unconscious expresses itself through universal symbols, and that true self-discovery begins when we learn to decode them. If blood types are seen not merely as genetic traits, but as archetypal keys, they can offer profound insight into your emotional tendencies, behavioral instincts, and relational dynamics. Jung's concept of individuation becoming a whole, integrated self relies on uncovering these inner patterns. Blood types, when understood symbolically, can serve as mirrors reflecting your deepest psychological architecture. Type O, for instance, is often associated with resilience, confidence, and decisiveness qualities that align with the archetype of the warrior, one who leads, protects, and acts with bold intention. Type A reflects harmony, sensitivity, and self-discipline, embodying the sage or the healer, those who observe deeply, prefer structure, and strive to maintain balance. Type B tends to be spontaneous, creative, and emotionally expressive traits of the explorer, the soul who seeks freedom, novelty, and inspiration. And Type AB, often seen as enigmatic and intuitive, resonates with the mystic archetype, those who carry the wisdom of opposites within them, combining logic and emotion, structure and fluidity. These archetypes don't limit you. They expand your understanding of how your energy naturally operates and how it interacts with the world around you. When you begin to see yourself through this lens, your relationships start to make more sense. You understand why you're drawn to certain people and why others feel emotionally overwhelming. These connections aren't random. They're responses to the energies your unconscious is working with. A Type A may be drawn to a Type B, not because they're opposites, but because something in them craves spontaneity. A Type O may clash with another warrior type until they learn to channel their strengths collaboratively. This is the realm where blood becomes not just fluid, but symbolic language. In modern life, this becomes particularly evident in high-pressure settings. Take the story of Leo, a Type AB surgeon known for his calm intuition under pressure. His colleagues, mostly Type O and Type A, found him strange, at first unpredictable, detached, too philosophical. But in the operating room, when chaos reigned, Leo saw patterns others missed. He guided the team with a quiet knowing, embodying the mystic's role, integrating contradiction, making peace between extremes. What once seemed like misalignment became a deeper harmony once the symbolic roles were acknowledged. Carl Jung taught us that when we understand the unconscious drivers beneath our choices, we reclaim our agency. Blood, as a metaphor, reminds us that not all truths are visible on the surface. What flows beneath the psychological and spiritual symbols may be the most honest map we have to ourselves. And when we bring these symbols to light, we stop reacting blindly and begin living intentionally. This is the spiritual wisdom embedded in the body. The idea that biology and psyche are not separate, but intertwined. Your blood type might not just explain your diet or immune system. It might whisper to you who you are, who you're becoming, and how you relate to the world. Jung would tell us that once this symbolic truth is seen, it cannot be unseen, and that is where transformation begins. Comment below. I am decoding my inner truth, if you're ready to explore the hidden messages within you. Your blood may carry more than genetics. It might hold the key to your spiritual evolution. Let's uncover it together. 3. Type A, the perfectionist, the sage. People with blood type A often embody the archetype of the sage or perfectionist, those who live life with precision, care, and a deep longing for harmony. They are not chaotic wanderers. Instead, they build their lives around quiet discipline, clear boundaries, and elegant control. Their strength lies in their ability to think methodically, to notice what others miss, and to bring order where others only bring reaction. Their loyalty is unwavering, their words carefully chosen, and their actions often speak louder than their emotions. Like a wise monk in a storm, they find stability in rituals, routines, and structure. But this order comes at a price. Behind the polished exterior of the Type A soul is often a heart wrestling with anxiety, a mind flooded with self-criticism, and a subtle fear of things spiraling out of control. Their perfectionism, while admirable on the surface, can become a silent torment, driving them to overthink, overwork, and overextend. They often carry the unspoken belief that their worth is tied to how flawlessly they perform. Their inner dialogue may be one of high standards and harsh judgments. It has to be perfect, or I can't afford to make a mistake. Carl Jung reminds us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. For the Type A individual, this is the call to a spiritual awakening, a deep realization that control is not the same as peace, and that structure without spontaneity becomes a cage. True growth begins not by abandoning one's nature, but by integrating its opposite. It is the journey of learning to let go of over-control, to say yes to uncertainty, and to embrace the wisdom found in imperfection. Type A. Individuals thrive when they begin to trust the flow of life. When they give themselves permission to rest, to be playful, to make a mess, and not apologize for it, something sacred happens. Their intuition sharpens, their creativity deepens, and their relationships soften. A new kind of intelligence emerges, one rooted not in calculation, but in surrender. What once felt like chaos becomes opportunity. What once felt like failure becomes freedom. This shift does not mean turning away from their innate strengths. It means elevating them. A sage who also knows how to dance in the rain becomes not just wise, but alive. A perfectionist who can laugh at a crooked picture frame becomes not just skilled, but magnetic. When Type A individuals stop fearing spontaneity and start honoring their inner rhythm, they become whole. This is their invitation to awaken, not to become someone else, but to reclaim the parts of themselves they once believed were too unpredictable, too wild, or too soft. In this integration, the blood becomes a symbol not of identity, but of transformation. And the spiritual path is no longer about fixing oneself, but about freeing oneself. Do you see yourself in the Type A archetype, the sage, or the perfectionist? If you've ever struggled with overthinking or learned to embrace imperfection, share your experience in the comments so others can grow from it too. If you're just starting this journey, comment, "I will let go," to affirm your path toward freedom and balance. 4. Type B. The explorer, the rebel. Type B personalities are often seen as the embodiment of the explorer or the rebel archetype. They are driven not by a desire to fit in, but by a deep longing to experience life in its raw, unfiltered form. This type thrives on curiosity, passion, and independence, constantly pushing boundaries and questioning limitations. The explorer doesn't merely wander. They seek meaning in motion. The rebel doesn't break rules just to disrupt, but to pave a new way when the old one no longer serves the truth. Their greatest strength lies in their creative mind and their ability to adapt to change. Fluid thinking allows them to innovate in ways that traditional thinkers cannot. They do not fear the unknown. They're magnetically drawn to it. With passionate energy and a desire for authenticity, they have the power to breathe new life into stagnant systems. In Jungian terms, this personality channels the force of the trickster, not to deceive, but to challenge, to provoke transformation through disruption. Their honesty, though sometimes blunt, is rooted in integrity. They are unafraid to speak what others merely think, and this boldness gives them the power to shift collective narratives. Yet, every strength holds a shadow. The same passion that fuels their quest can also burn through consistency. Restlessness becomes a pattern, and novelty turns into an addiction. Type B. Individuals may find themselves abandoning paths too early, just before depth is formed. They may enter relationships, careers, or spiritual practices with intensity, only to withdraw when structure appears. Beneath this lies a subtle fear. The fear that commitment might limit their freedom, that depth might feel like confinement. However, spiritual wisdom teaches that true freedom does not come from avoiding structure, but from choosing the right structure. The growth path for the explorer and rebel is not about suppressing their wild nature, but learning how to contain it with intention. Building consistency, whether through discipline, spiritual practice, or emotional maturity, allows their energy to channel more powerfully. Flexibility is not lost when grounded in purpose. Instead, it gains depth and impact. When they learn to slow down and stay with something long enough to see it unfold, their explorations evolve from mere experiences into wisdom. The rebel becomes a guide. The wanderer becomes a pathmaker. They begin to see that their instinct to break away was never meant to destroy, but to create something better from a place of awakened consciousness. To walk this path is to confront the self gently but truthfully. Are you exploring because your soul seeks meaning, or because your wounds fear stillness? Are you rebelling because you know your truth, or because you're afraid to be truly seen? The answers lie not in the world, but in the silence you often run from. That is where transformation begins. And once you return from that inner journey, you don't just change your life, you change how life flows through you. Have you ever embraced your inner rebel and followed your own path, even when it made no sense to others? If so, share your story in the comments to inspire fellow explorers. If not, type, "I will choose my own path," to declare your intention to live with freedom and purpose. Let's grow together. 5. Type AB, the mediator, the diplomat. If your blood type is AB, you possess a rare and powerful essence, the ability to harmonize what others see as irreconcilable. Carl Jung would have seen you as an embodiment of the mediator archetype, someone who lives at the intersection of opposites, not torn between them, but weaving them together into unity. You naturally perceive multiple dimensions of reality. Where others rush to judgment, you pause, reflect, and try to understand all sides. Your empathy is not superficial. It's deeply intuitive, allowing you to feel the unspoken emotional layers of any situation. You walk into a room and instantly read the atmosphere, tuning into every silent conflict and emotional current, even the ones no one dares to name. This sensitivity is your superpower, but it also makes your path uniquely complex. You are adaptive, flexible, and often the emotional anchor in your circles. People feel safe around you because you listen without trying to fix, and you accept without needing to agree. But this deep attunement to others often comes at a cost: the erosion of your own clarity. When you are always tuning in to others' needs, desires, and wounds, it's easy to lose sight of your own. You may struggle with indecisiveness, not because you don't care, but because you care about everything. You feel the weight of every choice, not just for yourself, but for how it ripples through others. This can create emotional fog, identity confusion, and an aching sense of overwhelm. You might find yourself in situations where everyone relies on you for peace, but no one asks how you're really doing. You become the glue holding others together, even while you're slowly coming undone. And still, you keep showing up, because being the bridge is all you've ever known. Yet deep inside, there's often a quiet longing not to abandon your empathy, but to finally include yourself in the circle of care. That longing is not weakness. It's the beginning of your transformation. Eliza, a woman with type AB blood, spent years offering counsel and comfort to others. Her presence was like a balm. People confided in her, trusted her, leaned on her. But privately, she felt like a ghost in her own life. She had mastered the art of reflection, always being what others needed her to be. Until one night, exhausted and emotionally numb, she looked in the mirror and whispered, "Who am I when no one is projecting onto me?" That question unraveled her, but it also liberated her. She began reconnecting with her desires, her dreams, and her own truth, not the one filtered through someone else's lens. Slowly, she stopped living as a mirror and started living as a soul. Carl Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming your true self, requires the integration of all your internal opposites. For you, that means learning to hold your empathy without sacrificing your identity. It means developing spiritual wisdom, not just from understanding others, but from learning to hear your own voice beneath the noise. You don't need to stop being a bridge, but a bridge must be rooted at both ends. Your strength lies in your ability to unify, but your peace will come from inner anchoring. You already see the beauty in others. Now it's time to see it in yourself. Have you ever struggled to balance your many sides or felt torn between decisions? If you're type AB or simply resonate with the Mediator's path, share your experience in the comments below. If you're ready to embrace your inner harmony, type "I choose clarity" so we can grow together on this journey. 6. Type O, the warrior, the hero. People with type O blood embody the warrior, the hero archetype. You are instinctively action-driven, always ready to charge ahead with confidence and clarity. Your presence commands attention because you radiate certainty. You're not the one to hesitate when decisions need to be made. You move forward with boldness, fueled by a primal energy that seems to have always lived inside you. Your strength lies in your leadership, your physical vitality, and your resilience in the face of adversity. You are the one others rely on in times of crisis, not because you seek to be the hero, but because you naturally become one. Yet beneath that strength lies a shadow. With such raw power comes the tendency to push too hard, too fast. Your impatience can make you dismiss the deeper layers of a situation. Your confidence, while admirable, can sometimes become stubbornness. You want clear answers, quick results, and forward movement, always forward. But not everything in life can be conquered through force or sheer willpower. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, It will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This is where your spiritual awakening begins. It begins not in action, but in reflection. True growth for the Type O spirit requires learning the art of stillness. Learning that power doesn't always mean speed or control. Sometimes it means sitting with your emotions, even when they make you uncomfortable. Sometimes it means listening more deeply, allowing complexity to breathe, and resisting the urge to fix everything instantly. Your journey is not about becoming less powerful. It's about refining that power so it becomes wise, not just strong. In daily life, this means noticing the moments when your energy wants to dominate and asking yourself, is this the right fight? Is this the right moment to act? Or is this the moment to wait? At work, in relationships, in times of stress, your calling is to transform instinct into intention. You're here to lead, not just with fire, but with depth. To choose not just boldness, but balance. And in doing so, you become not just the hero who wins battles, but the one who brings peace after the war. Have you ever embraced your inner warrior and truly led with both strength and heart? If you've ever tapped into your Type O energy, share your story in the comments below so others can be inspired. If not, comment, "I will rise," to begin awakening the hero within. Let's grow together. 7. Final message. Blood as a portal to individuation. Your blood type does not determine your fate. It only reveals your natural tendencies, like a compass pointing in a general direction, not a fixed destination. In the Jungian view, these biological markers align with archetypal energies that live deep within the collective unconscious. But to truly grow, you must move beyond these patterns. That is the path of individuation, the spiritual process of becoming whole by integrating all aspects of the self. You may have inherited certain traits through your blood, but it is your conscious choices, not your biology, that ultimately shape who you become. The moment you begin to observe your instincts without being enslaved by them is the moment transformation begins. Each blood type carries its own energetic imprint. Type A tends to crave order, harmony, and perfection, while Type B leans into curiosity, freedom, and creativity. Type O often embodies strength, resilience, and leadership, whereas Type AB lives between paradoxes, holding both logic and emotion. These qualities are not limitations. They are starting points for self-awareness. To awaken spiritually is to honor these natural energies while refusing to be defined by them. The key is to bring conscious light to what was once unconscious. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Spiritual wisdom shows us that individuation means embracing both our patterns and our power to transcend them. When a Type A individual learns to let go of control and accept imperfection, they move from anxiety to peace. When a Type O leader chooses compassion over dominance, they shift from power to purpose. When a Type AB stops living in duality and begins to integrate both their emotional and logical sides, they arrive at true inner harmony. These inner transformations mark milestones on the soul's journey toward wholeness. The blood within you becomes a symbolic teacher, not because it dictates your path, but because it reflects parts of yourself waiting to be seen. Just as dreams speak in images, your blood type speaks in tendencies, guiding you to look within. It is not an identity, but an invitation to awaken, to observe, and to choose something higher than default behavior. It reminds you that your spiritual awakening is not found in rejecting your nature, but in transcending it with awareness, intention, and love. You are not here to be ruled by unseen patterns. You are here to bring light to them. The sacred truth is this: your blood may carry whispers from the unconscious, but your soul carries the blueprint for your becoming. Listen deeply, move consciously, and let every drop of you point not to who you've been, but to who you're destined to become. To affirm your commitment to self-discovery and conscious growth, comment below, "I choose to evolve." Let this be your declaration that you are not bound by biology, but guided by soul. Your journey toward wholeness may inspire someone else to begin theirs. Thank you for joining us today on this journey into the deeper meaning of your blood type and how it may hold the keys to understanding your personality, your path, and even your spiritual growth. Carl Jung reminded us that true transformation begins with self-awareness, and perhaps even something as seemingly simple as your blood type can be a doorway to profound spiritual wisdom. If this message resonated with you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an awakening insight from our upcoming videos. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and always walk the path of inner truth.